Everyone needs a beater watch in their collection. You know, that one watch you're not going to worry about beating up when you're hiking, fixing your car, doing home DIY projects, or whatever it is you do in your free time. For some people, that may be a G-Shock, and for others, it could be a $4,000 Tudor. But for me, I prefer an automatic watch around the $100 mark, and this Boderry Voyager lands right in that price range. In fact, this is almost the perfect beater watch, but there's one thing about it that may be a potential deal breaker for some of you out there. Stick around to find out if you're in that category. The titanium case is built like a tank. It feels lighter than you'd expect because of the material, but you can still feel how good the build quality is. It just gives off a very tooly, robust vibe. I felt like heading into the forest and chopping some firewood the moment I put it on. Then I realized I don't have a fireplace, so I didn't actually do that, but that's exactly the kind of feeling I want in a beater watch. It just felt bulletproof. The case has an entirely bead blasted matte finish that's going to hide scratches better, and as a bonus, it's also going to look quite good when you start beating it up. Of course, we have to talk about those lyre lugs, because there's no way you're going to miss them. They look like Omega lugs on steroids. They're excessively large, but they kind of add to the robust look. The lugs also have a sharp downturn that helps the case wrap around your wrists, but we'll get more into that a bit later. The crown guards seamlessly flow into the case, and it reminds me a lot of the Seiko SKX. The crown is big, and you get a really good grip. It also screws in and out very smoothly, which is quite unusual for a titanium watch. I did find something cool when I popped off the bracelet. The lugs have two spring bar positions. No, that's not a QC issue. It lets you set the spring bar at different heights, whether using the bracelet, NATO strap, or any other strap you want to use. That's a really nice touch. Over the front of the watch, you'll find a flat sapphire crystal. The clear air coating is better than most watches I've seen in this price range. It's so clear that the crystal sometimes disappears at certain angles. The bezel is slightly raised above the crystal, so that's gonna help prevent it from cracking if you bang the watch face against something. It just goes to show that Boddery designed this to be used as an actual tool watch. The dial has that classic field watch aesthetic. It's something like you'll find on the Hamilton khaki field. It has a main 12-hour scale and a smaller military time scale for 13 to 2400 hours. They didn't just stop there though. There's another scale on the outer minute track that shows the time in 5-minute increments. So technically, you have 3 different numbers on each hour. Now, you assume this would make the dial look cluttered and hard to read, but strangely, it's so easy to tell the time with just a quick glance. They chose the precise fonts, sizes, and thickness to create sort of a visual hierarchy. I have no idea how Boddery managed to pull this off, but they did, so I have to give them kudos for that. All of the elements are printed on the matte black dial. The printing quality looks great, even on the macro, and the stark white they use gives a ton of contrast against the black dial. The syringe handset looks great, and I love that they use a bead blasted finish. It ties into the overall look by matching the case finish, but more importantly, those bead blasted hands catch the light from any angle, so you're always going to be able to tell the time. The finishing on the handset also looks great. I couldn't notice any rough edges or issues on the macro, which is really impressive considering the price point. If you like beating it around at night, the watch, the C3 loom has you covered. I like how they loomed all the numerals, but because those numerals are just printed, they fade off faster than the loom on the hands. You can still read the time after a couple of hours, but you might have to squint a bit to see the numerals. The NH35 is a robust workhorse movement, which is exactly the kind of movement you'd want on an automatic beater. My unit ran a bit fast for my liking. It came in at about plus 10 seconds per day. Now that's still within Seiko's tolerances, but I've had tighter accuracy on a lot of my other watches with this movement. Moving on to the bracelet. It's a 3-link style that's made entirely from titanium. It has that same bead blasted finish as the case, and that finish feels very comfortable on the wrist. The links are connected by push pins and they have decent articulation, but that stem clasp is absolutely terrible. I guess they had to cut some corners to keep the price down. Which is strange because they've actually included a quick release system on the bracelet. I'd have preferred if they spent that money on the clasp instead. Coming back to the deal breaker I mentioned at the start of this video, this bracelet is the one thing that could make or break the watch for you. And no, it's not about the clasp, but just look at those male end links. They pushed the effective lug to lug of this watch from 49mm right up to 54mm. That's a whole chunk of extra length. Even with the steep downturns on the lugs, I just couldn't pull this watch off on the bracelet. If you're a bracelet guy like me, you'll probably need to have wrists above 6.5 inches to pull this off. Of course, if you have a smaller wrist and you're not a fan of bracelets, this isn't going to be a deal breaker. Just get the watch on the nylon strap instead of the bracelet, and you'll even save yourself a few bucks in the process. Honestly, besides the bracelet, I had a really tough time finding faults with this watch, and that doesn't usually happen. The Voyager just ticks so many boxes. It has the looks, material, legibility, and features that anyone could want in a beta watch. Yes, it's a bit on the larger size, especially with the bracelet, but if you're okay with that, there's really no reason not to get this. In fact, I don't think there's an automatic titanium field watch out there that comes close to this in the $100 price range. But what do you think? Is this the perfect beta watch, or are there other alternatives around this price point? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you want a smaller option, check out my review of the Boddery titanium field watch. That comes in at just 37mm. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.